again, all of you, whoever is here. We are glad you are here. Today is March the 24th of 2021. It's rainy where I am. I'm wondering how it might be where you are. So this is the Buddhist Service today. And I'm here, I'm Miss Shepherd, and I'm here with my friend, Miss Ross. I'll let her say hello, and then I'll tell you what we're going to do today.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Miss Shepherd, and just grateful to be able to be with you all again in this way. Still missing not seeing you all in person, but this is what we do until we're allowed to see each other again. So just know we're thinking of you, and grateful to be able to be here practicing with you today, and hoping some of this is a benefit to you in your daily life. So back to you, Miss Shepherd.
Okay, absolutely. So the plan for today is a little different than usual. What I'd like to do is share with you a YouTube video by a teacher named Bhante Rahula. He is someone who was trained by Bhante Gunaratana. Some of you may have read some of Bhante Gunaratana's books. Very famous teacher. So Bhante Rahula always introduces his meditation with some movement. And I thought I would share that today because I'll sort of tell you the personal reason why is that I was on a retreat recently, an online retreat, of course, but a retreat. And as is not terribly unusual for me, I had a lot of restlessness arise. But it was very clear that day, more than usual probably, that the restlessness really was related to just all this energy in the body. I felt like a toddler, like a little kid, you know, when a little kid just can't sit down and they have to keep jumping up. That's what I felt like. I just felt like there was all this energy in the body. Unrelated to anything specific, just energy was there. And I know often in instruction, one way people can work with that sort of energy is through walking meditation. But I find sometimes that walking meditation doesn't really help me disperse the energy. In fact, sometimes it kind of activates the energy because it's very easy for me to keep thinking while I'm walking. But these movements, which are very much tied to breath, helped to disperse the energy. I did do these, and they did help me sort of settle the energy, stay in the body, not be so caught up in the head, and then be able to move into sitting meditation much more easily. So I thought we'd try some of these. He's on YouTube, so we can follow along. They're very simple, and anything that he suggests that you find you can't do for whatever reason, feel free to modify it in any way that works for you. The point, these aren't, he calls them exercises, but they're not exercises in the sense of trying to change or modify the body in any way. They are just a way to connect to the body, to feel the breath, and to sort of quiet down the thinking mind and stay into what he calls the breathing body a little more. So that's their intention. And so we'll do those movements with him, and as best you can follow along, especially with his instructions about when you're breathing in and when you're breathing out. That's what really helps to kind of direct attention back into the body and keep you centered and grounded in the body. So we'll do those for about 10 or 12 minutes. And then he moves into a meditation, and we'll go into the meditation with him. I'm going to skip a little bit of his beginning part and move into what the meditation is probably 45 minutes or an hour. So we won't, of course, we'll do all of that. So I'm going to skip the beginning. We'll move into another little segment, and we'll do about 15 minutes of meditation with him. Then we'll come back, and Ms. Ross and I will offer any other thoughts about how it was for us, or any other just thoughts on it. So that's the plan for today. So we won't do our chant, and we won't light the candles now. I'm trying to remember if he begins with a chant. He may begin with it. Oh, but then we're not hearing that part. So we won't hear a chant today at all. Okay, so I will share the screen, and we will go to Bhante Rahula. Jenny, that look okay?
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay.
There's no sound yet.
Yeah, hold on.
We're going to begin a few stretches now. Just stand straight. Gently close your eyes. Feel your feet pressing the floor. Relax your arms and hands at the sides. Just feel the standing body and begin some deep, slow breathing. After breathing in, hold the air in the lungs for 3 or 4 seconds. You feel that pause, you give time for the oxygen to get into the bloodstream, return to the starting point on the out breath, repeating each one 3 times. So on the next in-breath, raise the arms over the head, interlock the fingers, turn the palms up, straighten the arms, stretch the head back. The out breath, turn the palms down, touch the top of the head. In the in-breath, palms up, straighten the arms. Bend back a little bit. Out breath, touch the head. Third time, hold that upward stretch longer, bend back a little more. And release the fingers. The out breath, arms back to the sides. Relax. Just close the eyes. Just feel the increased sensations in the body. And next on the in-breath, push up on the toes while raising the arms over the head. Stretch up. Out breath, arms back to the sides. In breath. Out. In. Stretch. Out. Relax. Just close the eyes. Feel subtle sensations, pulsations. Feel the clothing touching the outer skin. Feel the life force vibrations under the skin. Just remember standing, standing. And next we'll do side bending, using both arms on an in-breath. Raise both arms up. Keep the arms close to your head. On the out breath, bend over the right side as far as you comfortably can. Keep the arms parallel to each other. In breath up. And the other side, out breath. In breath. Again to the right. In. Out. In. Once more to each side. The out breath. Relax. Just keep feeling the body. Remember standing. Standing. Just feel all those inner body sensation, prickling sensation, increased pulsation, the aches or pain. Okay, now spread the feet apart, at least 3 feet. Holding the arms out, we'll do the twisting from side to side. And breathe in. And look at the right hand on the out breath, twist around. Keep the eyes focused on the hand going back. The out breath, come back to the front. The in breath, excuse me. And the out breath. Then the out breath, the other side. In breath, back to the front. Let the feet turn with the body, again to the right, out breath. In, out. Once more to each side, out breath. Relax. Just feel each foot pressing the floor. Don't give the mind time to wander in thoughts. Just always keep feeling parts of the body. Each foot pressing the floor. Hands touching the side. Clothing touching the skin. Just remember standing, standing. The present moment of the body. Now place the hands together at the chest. Keep the legs spread apart. In breath, hands over the head. And the out breath, hands to the chest, bend the knees, lower the body down. As far as you comfortably can come down. I keep the back upright. In breath all the way up. Again, out breath. In. Out. In. The out breath, arms back to the sides, relax. Keep feeling the body. And bring the legs together. One last exercise, the backward and forward bending. Turn the palms outward. On the in-breath, gradually raise the arms up, opening them out to the sides as you bend back. Look up at the ceiling. Carefully lift up with the in-breath, keeping the arms out at the sides. And lower the arms and hands down toward the, bend down to try to touch the floor. Try to keep your legs straight. Let the bones in the lower spine stretch out. And begin standing up, turn the palms outward, opening the arms out with the in-breath, out to the sides. In-breath, lift up, out-breath. In, turn the palms outward, open the arms out to the side. Out breath. On the in breath, to finish, bring the hands together at the chest. Out breath, hands back to the sides, relax. Feel the whole body vibrating, pulsating with activated life force. Feel as though the whole body nervous system has been washed and bathed with healing life force vibrations, oxygenated blood. Allowing those pleasant sensations, hold the attention in the present moment awareness, centered in the body, natural awareness. Okay, now let's come back to our seats and get ready for meditation. Okay, friends, we'll do our meditation now. So just try to sit straight. Try to align the back of the head and the spine in a straight line. Try to find the center of gravity of the head and spine over the hips. Keeping the chin level, parallel with the floor. And bring your total attention down to feel where the buttocks press the seat. That or exaggerated expanding and contracting sensations. Feeling all those sensations from all those different places. It's called concentrated awareness, centered in the body. And tune in to the breathing process, or try to take some deep, slow breaths. Just begin some deep, slow breathing to feel that or exaggerated expanding and contracting sensations of the abdomen, rib cage, and upper chest. Holding the breath in for a few seconds to help stay centered, feeling the subtle sensations and feeling the relaxing contractions of the out breath. Just take several deep, slow breaths, cultivating this basic mindfulness. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Again, let's count the breaths from 1 to 10. Try to maintain a continuous concentration. With the next expanding in breath, count 1. Feel the brief pause. With the contracting out breath, also count 1. Feel the last bit of air go out to the lungs. And the next in breath, 2. The out breath, 2. In breath, 3. Out breath, 3. In breath 4. Out breath 4. In breath 5. Out breath 5. In breath 6. Out breath 6. In breath 7. Out breath 7. In breath 8. Out breath 8. In breath 9. Out breath 9. In breath 10. Out breath 10. Now discontinue the counting. Discontinue any deep controlled breathing. Just letting the breathing return to its shorter, irregular, uncontrolled rhythm. But continue to feel it. Continue to stay focused on the subtler, shorter movements of expanding and contracting. Try to feel those subtle sensations of the clothing rubbing against the stomach, rib cage, or chest. It expands and contracts. Just make that the main focus of your concentrated awareness. Just knowing when the breath is coming in and knowing when the breath is going out. You know it by feeling it. By perception. Try to feel the 4 phases of the breath. Expanding in breath, the brief pause. The contracting out breath and the brief pause. Just over and over and over again. Feeling all those different subtle sensations. Especially be alert for those brief pauses between the breaths, even if it's just a fraction of a second. Notice how each breath is different, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. Sometimes the in breath is longer than the out breath, or the out breath is longer than the in breath. It's always changing. Try to have the feeling of being a scientist sitting in the laboratory, observing an experiment. This body is the meditator's laboratory. And concentrated awareness is the microscope. Just understanding that this material body kept alive by the breathing oxygen, life force coming into the body, circulating through all the cells, and the out breath expelling the carbon dioxide or impurities. Just as you eat food and then excrete the food out the backside, the body eats oxygen, expels the impurities, carbon dioxide out the lungs. Just try to imagine and feel that process. Feel all the rippling effects of an expanding and contracting throughout the body. Very subtle vibration. But at the same time, be alert for thoughts or the mental activity going through the back of the mind or trying to take you away from the body. Or if there's drowsiness, be aware of the drowsy mind. Take a few deep breaths, straighten up the posture to overcome that drowsiness. Just maintaining that awareness, just breathing in, sitting, breathing out, sitting, breath by breath, moment by moment.
So Ms. Ross, how was that for you? What did you find?
Yeah, it'd be interesting for all of us, I think, just to check in and see how we responded to that. A different, and those of you who are out there in TV land, it was a different voice, a little different technique than we usually use, but just noticing what we notice about that kind of practice. And for me, a lot of what I noticed was, well, first his voice was so calming. It was a little hard to understand sometimes, but he was so calm and just so present, and it felt really relaxing. Yet he was, kept emphasizing that concentrated awareness. So even with this soothing voice, there was still, he was using those instructions to bring us back to really having that, he called it concentrated awareness, I would call it unified awareness, centered in the body and the breath, where all these instructions in the meditation, reminding us something as simple as the breath. There's so many things to pay attention to, and it can be interesting. We can make it be really boring, but there's just a lot of things to notice. And I think at the end here that he even talked about the body and the breath being a laboratory, and our awareness is this microscope that allows us to see what's going on, stuff that we don't normally pay attention to. And even the breathing, when he first was doing the breathing, like his in breaths and his out breaths were so long, I'm like, all right, can we breathe now? Can we breathe now? And feeling almost panicky, like anybody else have that experience? But like just noticing that, like how he obviously been practicing a long time, and then he's got this, deep breath. And after a while, I could relax and get into that too, but it took me a while to relax enough to breathe like he did. And just noticing that, like how different the breath can be. And if we're tense, it's hard to breathe, and that kind of, just so many different things to notice. And so this whole thing of I call it embodied practice, is really core to how I practice. He does it in a little different way than I do, but this mind is in this body. The mind isn't just the brain. It's this embodied awareness. And a lot of what he was pointing to was becoming aware of when we move the body, we make an intention to move it. We can move, like in the exercise that we're moving in different ways. And then we stop and we can notice what the effect is, like, does it make us feel more alive? Does it make us feel tired? Did it tweak something and make something hurt? And just paying attention, like, how do we move with care so we don't get hurt? And how do we really become aware of our bodies? Because we take our bodies for granted, that we're going to be able to move until we can't. And then we have to pay attention, but why not start now? So just the whole way he practiced was just a really good reminder that everything we need for practice is right here in this mind, in this body, and this breath. And we don't need fancy meditation objects. We don't need anything else, but like just as paying attention, how does this mind and this body, how do they interact? How do they respond? How does what we ask the body to do affect how the mind is? What's the mind asking the body to do? What's the body telling the mind isn't working? All of this, it's a continual practice, and not just on the cushion, not just in the movements before the meditation, but throughout the day. We can train ourselves then to notice this, and notice what the body's telling us, and notice what our mind is asking our body to do, and learning how to come a little bit more in harmony by having this unified awareness of the mind and the body and the breath. So a lot of blah, blah, blah for me, but he was great. Yeah, he was great. I've never heard his teaching before, so thank you for that.
Thank you. Thanks for your thought. So I did again, a Zoom, of course, retreat with him about 2 months ago, maybe. And it was the first time I had practiced with him or really knew much about him. And I just found the way in which he encourages you to connect into the body very helpful, because it's simple. It wasn't, I mean, he could do things I couldn't do, that was for sure, but it wasn't that he was asking us to go down as far as he does when he squats. So I could go down as far as I could go and notice the way that how it impacted the breath, and just how doing those very simple movements really helped me stay with the breath and with the breathing body, rather than getting lost in all of the planning and thinking that I often do. So that was really helpful. And then the counting practice that we did, I also found those long breaths long for me. And it was true that I actually could do it. And it also, I really noticed the difference of how it helped settle, so that when the counting was finished, I was much more present and connected with the breathing body. So that's actually something I've incorporated some days into my practice to begin with, those counting long breaths. I found it really helpful. And not simple to have a long breath. I think probably when I'm counting on my own, my long breath isn't quite as long as his long breath, but it's longer than I'm used to. And it makes a difference in staying present with the breathing body. Another thing that he sort of talks about that I've found helpful is he sometimes in the instructions we hear teachers talk about staying with the breath or staying with the body. And he talks about how really he prefers using the term breathing body, since they're the same. Anytime you're with the body, the breath is present too. Anytime you're with the breath, it's through the awareness of the body, so that you don't have to separate them in that way, and instead just consider in this moment, what's the best access to connect with the breathing body? Maybe it's through a bodily sensation, maybe it's through the sensations of breathing, but either way, you're connecting with the breathing body. And that's what we're wanting to do, because that's what keeps us present in this moment and helps quiet and calm the thinking mind. And the thinking might be happening in the background, but that, when you're moving and going up on your toes or squatting or counting, that your primary focus is staying with the breath. And the more we connect with the breath in that way, the easier it is to be interested in it, to notice the subtleties of it, so that we can stay with it even when the counting is finished or the movement is finished. That it's a window into how interesting the body can be, just as Jenny said and as he said, so that we stay connected in that way. And his sort of unique way of talking was also amusing and odd, but also helpful. I hear it sitting. I hear it in my voice, in my head, and so I found that surprisingly helpful as well. Yeah, go ahead, Jenny.
Yeah, and the one thing I wanted to say, especially during this time of COVID, but even without COVID, the breath, the emphasis on the breath is a problem for some people, and we should acknowledge that. And that's something to check in about, those of you watching. Was that trying to work with the breath, especially those long breaths? Like, did you feel panicky? Because for some of us, the breath is a trigger. either due to life circumstances or if you have asthma, or whatever, like, so don't feel like there's something wrong with you if breath is an issue. Like I said, especially in this time of COVID, when we're all so paranoid about being able to breathe, and full disclosure, it took me years, to be with the breath. It just didn't work for me as a practice, but that's the beauty of this guy's teaching, is there's also the rest of the body. And if the breath is a sensation of, the actual breathing, don't think of it as breath, think of it as energy flow, and so you can feel the body breathing without being involved in the respiratory system. You can just feel, when you're inhaling, don't think of it as taking a breath, but just feeling the energy coming into the body and feeling the energy go out of the body. So those of you who are struggling out there, don't feel like you're the Lone Ranger. You are not the only one. There's a lot of us that struggle with breathing. And that's why, the breath and the body are not separate. But if for some reason, just the sensation of breathing is difficult, or there's some trauma around it or something, then go into the sensation just of the body movement. And that's where this is really beautiful. And on the other hand, like, for some people, they hold trauma in their body. And some of the beauty of his movements here is that they were all outward movements, whereas most of us tend to hold the trauma in our core. And so, if you did feel some discomfort, either in the body or in the breath, don't feel like you're alone. Don't feel like there's something wrong with you. Don't feel like you can't do this practice. Find what you could connect with and go with that. And as our one teacher, Ajahn Suchito, says, when there's a tightness or a difficulty somewhere, don't go to that place, but dance around it. So like, just, start outwards and come in, and maybe eventually you'll be able to connect to that place that you can't connect with, whether it's the breath or somewhere in your body. But that's why this variety of teachings, there's different ways to move the body, to relate to the body, and find what works for you. Don't think that just because, there's a lot of talk about mindfulness of breathing in Buddhism, but it can be really difficult for a lot of people, and myself included initially. So, and I find I want to control my breath, and that controlling thing, it's just a controlling thing. So for all of those reasons, I just encourage you to, don't think you have to practice in this way, or you have to practice with long breaths, or you even have to focus as much on the breath. But the variety of things he taught, I thought, was really helpful, that we can probe into what works, what doesn't work, and then just keep testing that.
Yes, absolutely wonderful. Suggestions, comments, that everything about this practice is about finding how it works for you. You may recall when we listened to Jarvis J. Masters last couple of weeks ago, when he talked about practicing in San Quentin, and he had to find how to practice in San Quentin. We each have to find how to practice in this, in our own bodies, in our own breath, in our own histories, with our own situation, our historical traumas or asthma or whatever it may be for us. And so all of these teachings that we hear, we hear them, and then we figure how, we don't just toss them out without consideration. That's not wise either. But we consider, okay, how might this practice, how might it work for me? So for example, on the long breathing and the counting thing, if that sort of worked for you, when you do it on your own, you're going to set the time for yourself to know, well, what's just a little bit longer than I'm used to breathing? And can I do it just a little bit longer for me? Or if you're doing the body movements, how do these body movements help me stay connected to the sensations in the body? And as Ms. Ross said, if the respiratory breathing thing is challenging, I also know what she's talking about. I've had that same problem. How can I feel just feelings in the body, sensations, the hands are a great way. The hands and feet tend to feel more sensations than a lot of the rest of the body, especially if we're not used to connecting into bodily sensations. So just stay with feeling your hands or your feet or wherever it is for you that you know you actually do have some sense of sensation. You know, all of the instructions that you read or you hear from us or you hear from other people, they're all intended just as suggestions, as try it out, see how this relates to what you need and what works for your own body and mind and heart. Because words, the problem is words do not capture what we're trying to talk about. And so it's always a less than explanation. So we're taking the words and then trying to get an understanding of what's really being pointed to, which can't be put into words. So there's many different words out there trying to help us connect into that sense of what it means to just be present as a person, as an embodied presence, as a human being that has a body and that experiences the world through these 6 senses, which is the 5 senses the West talk about, and then the mind. So that's what we're trying to do, is how do we just really be with what's actually happening through this body, heart, and mind. And how we do that is unique to each of us. So, you know, use whatever of this is of interest or use, of help. His teachings are usually 2 hours long. So he gives some sort of teaching at the beginning, kind of a narrative teaching, and then he does these exercises in the middle, and then he does the meditation at the end. And there are many on YouTube, but it was taking me hours and hours to find, well, which was the best set of exercises and which was the best set of, that some of the exercises were way longer and I wanted to have a whole set. And so maybe I'll find a better set than he was. A little bit hard to hear this time. I may find another set at some point and we can try it again in the future. But I hope some of this might be of interest. And if it's not, you continue doing whatever you normally do. And I hope it is of benefit for you, all or any of it. And with that, I think we can do our dedication to close. Here. Mouse is acting funny today. May the merit of our practice support and nourish us. May we feel inner wealth so that we can practice the joy of giving. May we always offer goodwill to others and also to ourselves. May we see our own limits with compassion, just as we offer compassion to others. May our practice train the heart in clarity, kindness, and wisdom. And may all beings, not one left out, be well, safe, and free from suffering. So thank you for letting us try something new. We'll look forward to seeing you next time and having it maybe be a little more usual. Miss Ross.
Just thank you all, and just keep practicing in whatever way works for you, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks to share some more ideas with you. But thinking of you, and be well.
Yes. Take care. Happy spring.